Hello everyone, it's Sam aka Ocean Unknown and welcome back to my channel. So back in January I made one of my favorite videos I've ever made, the Project Eden's Garden Mastermind video. You all really liked that video as well as my Wolfgang cosplay, which makes me sad that I'm not cosplaying in this video. Oh wait, here he is, the piece of shit, steady seating high up on his stolen throne. I've done it again, cosplaying an honorary evil pretty boy.
Hi.
So if you're wondering, why is David not an official evil pretty boy? What even is an evil pretty boy? I can explain. So evil pretty boy is a term I coined in my character analysis video about N from Pokemon Black and White when talking about Volo from Pokemon Legends Arceus, and now evil pretty boy has become a catchphrase of mine. Now, what is an evil pretty boy? An evil pretty boy, noun, is a male character who has a pretty design and is a little or a lot evil. Examples of an evil pretty boy include the previously mentioned Volo and N from Pokemon and Wolfgang Akira from Project Eden's Garden. David meets the criteria, but here's the thing. He continuously crosses the line with his actions and how he treats everyone. Thus, I must revoke him from the honor of being an evil pretty boy. He's just a mean man. And yet, I still wanted to cosplay him for this video. Disclaimer, I don't like or support any of David's actions in the series, which is another reason he is just an honorary evil pretty boy and not in the evil pretty boy club. All right, back to the video. Now that that's taken care of, today's video is all about Danganronpa Despair Time and who could be the mastermind of the killing game. However, this video will be a bit different from the video I made about Project Eden's Garden. First of all, unlike the Project Eden's Garden video where I got many comments saying there might not even be a mastermind, it is confirmed in Danganronpa Despair Time that there is a mastermind and it is one of the students, as stated by Mono TV in episode 5 of the prologue. Second, I want to discuss a theory I found out about via my YouTube comment section that Mono TV saying the real mastermind is one of you is actually directed at the audience, not the students. I think this is a really interesting theory. However, before that, Mono TV talks about how the mastermind being one of them is a reason why they shouldn't trust each other, which alludes more to the students, not the audience. Lastly, instead of this video being my main predictions about a few of the characters, I'm going over all 17 characters in Despair Time and discussing the possibilities of them being the mastermind, kind of like a tier list. So without further ado, let's discuss who is the mastermind of Danganronpa Despair Time. So here is my beautiful tier list. Ooh! How this is gonna work is after I discuss the possibility of a character being the mastermind, I'm going to place them on the tier list on where I think they stand on the possibility of being the mastermind. Categories are now by CLC, which is our category for characters who I can't see being the mastermind, and also an excuse for me to make a K-pop reference. Next is which is our maybe category. Then hear me out for characters who have good evidence stacked against them but I don't think they're the mastermind. And lastly,
right the fuck here!
For characters I strongly think could be the mastermind. Now that the tier list rules are out of the way, I'm going to start with the deceased students, which while it would seem obvious to put them all in No by CLC, there's a precedent in fangans to have a mastermind or traitor be deceased early on. Like look at Danganronpa Rebirth with Akira.
A body has been discovered.
Starting with Despair Time's first victim, Xander Matthews, he's the only dead character that I will not be putting in No by CLC, and I have some solid evidence for this. There are still plenty of mysteries surrounding Xander, like who asked him to kill Terako? Who is this Duke Sperling, and what does Xander and apparently Rose 2 have to do with him? What is his connection to Mai Akazaki, the mysterious girl Terako associates with Xander? How did he get his eye injury? What did he want to find out about Terako before making an attempt on her life? And what color are his goddamn eyes? While Xander is dead, there is a part of me that thinks he knew more about the killing game than he let on. I don't think he was the mastermind of the killing game, but there is a possibility that he could have been a traitor with inside information. There's still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding Xander's character, but for right now, I'll put Xander in meh. As far as Ra and Min, they're both going in play No by CLC. Well, there are definitely also some unanswered questions about their characters too, like what is Min's secret? How did the mysterious tech CEO learn about Min and her family? Etc. I don't see either one of them being connected to the killing game or the mastermind. Now, let's move on to our characters still in the land of the living.
Alright, fine. Go ahead and vote for me.
If you want to end your life that badly, go ahead.
I was initially going to make this video from least likely to most likely to be the mastermind, but that was really uninteresting with the tier list part of the video, so naturally, I'm gonna spin a wheel! Oh, well, that's very fitting. We're starting with our protagonist, the ultimate lucky student, Terako Tawaki. I feel like in most fangans, it's natural to be suspicious of the protagonist. There's a precedent in the Danganronpa series for the protagonist to have some big secret that in a way has to do with the killing game, like Makoto along with the other students previously all being close friendly peers before Junko created the killing game, Suichi auditioning to be in Danganronpa and it being alluded to that before the events of V3, Suichi was a much more sadistic and nefarious character, and most important to this topic, Hajime secretly being Izuru Kamakura, an experiment done by Hope's Peak Academy to possess all talent and the antagonist of Super Danganronpa 2. In regards to previous fangans, one of, if not the most popular fangan, Danganronpa Another follows right in Super Danganronpa 2's footsteps with their protagonist, Yuki Maida, secretly being the mastermind and ultimate despair Utsuro, which set a massive trend of fangans having suspicious and mysterious protagonists. Examples of this include the sequel of Danganronpa Another with their protagonist Sora, Hiroki Usuki from Danganronpa Kill Cure, who everyone theorized would be the mastermind back during the hype of the start of the series in late 2018, and as I talked about in one of my videos, Damon might say with Project Eden's Garden. With this instinct to be suspicious of the character we're following through the events of a story, Terako fits with these suspicions. As I mentioned in my video about David Chiam's True Nature, which by the way, go watch if you haven't, I strongly believe that Terako's secret in Chapter 2 is the one David received, which explicitly blames the killing game on the person the secret is about. Now, in my personal opinion, I think the killing game is your fault is a completely different sentence from you're the mastermind of the killing game. So even if Terako's secret is the one about the killing game, I still have my doubts about her being the mastermind. Like I said in my previous video about the series, this secret, if it is Terako's, would feed into Terako's confirmation bias about how she is cursed with bad luck and is a bad omen herself instead of confirming her as the mastermind. Terako also has no desire to escape the building where the killing game is taking place. However, she does have a strong desire to survive, and at times she seems much more calm than her peers in stressful situations relating to the killing game, like when Ari's body was found or when David's true nature is revealed. She is also unafraid of Mono TV, the mascot and host of the killing game, even doing chores for it in Chapter 2. At times, it appears as though Terako is unfazed of the events of the killing game, which could allude to her having a more nefarious side and more connection to the killing game, but her attitude could also just be from her apathetic nature and numbness to traumatic events. It's also been very clear since the beginning of Danganronpa Despair Time that Terako has a lot of secrets. How does her bad luck work? What did Xander want to know about her before attempting to kill her in Chapter 1? Why does the series start with an unknown person saying they must kill her? Why does she say that she can't be killed? These secrets allude to there being a lot more to Terako's character than we currently know, especially in relation to the killing game. I do think if Terako was the mastermind, she wouldn't know that she's the mastermind, most likely due to memory loss. Despite there being solid evidence, I'm still on the fence about Terako being the mastermind. For one, I think the protagonist being the mastermind trope, and especially when the protagonist doesn't know they're the mastermind, is getting a little overdone. It would be interesting if Terako was an unreliable narrator and was also fooling the audience, but her desire to survive and keep her life intact makes me think otherwise. Furthermore, Terako is the embodiment of the trust versus distrust dilemma of the whole story, and I like the concept of having a morally ambiguous or morally gray protagonist like Terako to convey how trust isn't a black and white issue. I predict that for the rest of the series, the trials will, in one way or another, have to do with someone either trusting or distrusting someone to the point that it becomes their downfall, which will show that one isn't automatically better than the other and the detriments of all or nothing thinking regarding trust. All in all, Terako definitely has a lot of secrets about her character that will hopefully be uncovered throughout the series, and while I could see these unanswered questions being used as potential evidence for why Terako could be the mastermind, I don't fully believe it's her, so she's going in, hear me out.
Who's next?
Ace Markey, your ultimate jockey. Fun fact, it's become a joke between me and one of my friends that if we talk about Ace, we say his full name and ultimate because they flow very well together. Ace Markey, ultimate jockey. Ace is a character who I can't see being the mastermind, but I could definitely see him becoming more important to the story later on. As far as why I can't see him being the mastermind, typically the bombastic, loud, kind of annoying characters like Ace would be too obvious as the mastermind. The interesting thing about Ace's character, however, is that he is the definition of all bark and no bite, and on top of that, his aggressive behavior seems to be a defense mechanism to distract everyone from his anxiety and self-destructive tendencies. It's also important to mention that Ace's birthday is Halloween, October 31st, which is likely intentional to symbolize how Ace pretends to be all tough and aggressive, just like someone putting on a costume. Even though he definitely has more layers to him than just the typical jerky jock character, I don't see Ace being the mastermind. Despite this, I could absolutely see him getting some major character development in the upcoming chapters, and either making it all the way to the end or dying in a later chapter. For now, Ace is going in no by CLC.
Spinning the wheel.
Yes!
I've been waiting for this one. Turn it up!
For those of you who don't know, Wit is tied with Jay from my favorite character in Danganronpa Despair Time. I just love this bisexual icon right here. I love Wit's sarcastic personality and sense of humor, like he literally makes very similar jokes that I make. I also love his seemingly genuine compassion for Teriko and Charles. With that in mind, yeah, I think he's evil. While Wit is incredibly likable, and I want him to live happily ever after with Charles, he's so suspicious to me. First of all, since Despair Time is subverting tropes of the original Danganronpa series, let's discuss the tropes used in Wit's character. Wit is the main comic relief character of Danganronpa Despair Time, which connects him to the comic reliefs of Danganronpa's past like Kazuichi Soda and Yasuhiro Hagakure, two characters who survived the Killing Game. He also bears a strong personality resemblance to Kokichi Oma, with both of them being pranksters, and both are unafraid to break the fourth wall. Before the final chapter of V3, Kokichi confessed to being the mastermind in a remnant of despair, which ended up not being true. I think Despair Time could subvert Wit being the Kokichi-like character by actually making him the mastermind. He also has some evidence in the story of being a lot smarter than he lets on. Underneath his playful personality, he is very mature and intelligent, which is shown when he comforts Charles after seeing Xander's body. He also pulls on Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club and says Ari is hanging out in the playground right before her strangulated body is found on the swing set. Along with this evidence, Wit's talent as the ultimate matchmaker suspiciously pertains to the themes of trust in Despair Time. Love is a strong form of trust, and a character having the talent of helping people find true love seems pretty suspicious regarding the thematic elements of the story. Wit's bio also specifically connects him with our protagonist Teriko, possibly hinting towards him being the mastermind. It reads, "Unfortunately for Wit, he seems to lack all luck when it comes to finding a relationship himself." Heavy emphasis on the fact that his bio specifically mentions luck, Teriko's main talent. It's also suspicious that we haven't yet seen Wit's talent being utilized in the show, whereas other characters' talents have been on full display, like Nico taking care of the fish, David's speeches to the cast, and Rose's paintings. Wit's matchmaking could become important in future chapters, but could also lead to even more hints towards him being the mastermind. I believe for these reasons, Wit Young is a strong contender to be the mastermind. I freaking love Nico. I honestly kind of relate to them regarding their struggles with communicating, as well as their distaste for confrontation. In Chapter 2, Nico got quite a bit of character development in regards to how they handle confrontation, and alluding that they might be a bit more unruly than they let on. Nico's attempt to end Ace's life in Chapter 2, Episode 6 still has a lot of unanswered questions, like what made Nico resort to trying to kill Ace? Did who or someone else influence Nico to commit murder? However, with that in mind, I don't think Nico is the mastermind. Like Ace, Nico is someone who could go through a lot of character development, but I could see their development more taking the direction of someone who would survive the Killing Game, or at least make it pretty far, than someone who would be the mastermind. Also, Nico's design is a bit of a red herring since Mono TV is designed after a cat, and Nico is not only a pet therapist, but also styles their hair like cat ears. I think as the series continues, the writers will develop Nico's personality a lot more, close up their conflict with Ace, and then Nico will either survive or die in a later chapter. For now, Nico is going in no by CLC.
Wheel of Spinny Spin.
Charles Cuevas. The ultimate tightly wound man who is shipped with the epitome of a baby girl. I really like Charles and how he is Despair Time's interpretation of a support character. Charles at first seems like a character like Byakuya Togami, an arrogant jerk who enjoys using logic to put people down. Also like Byakuya, it is implied that Charles had a very privileged upbringing since he isn't familiar with basic machinery like washing machines. However, Charles as of now seems like the intelligent, takes no shit support character. I'm looking forward to seeing where his character is going in the upcoming chapter characters in considering that. I could really see his character going in a myriad of directions. My main theories about Charles are either that he's going to survive but lose wit and possibly Terako in the process, or he will die in Chapter 5, likely as the Chapter 5 killer. However, this video is not about those predictions, they're about the possibilities of these characters being the mastermind. Although I don't personally think Charles is going to be the mastermind, I think it would be an interesting concept if he was. The one character who Terako has opened up to since being betrayed by Xander and Min being the one behind the entire killing game would be very fascinating. I don't have any evidence for why Charles could be the mastermind, I just think it would be cool. A solid, hear me out. Well, this is an interesting one because Mai isn't a fully revealed character in the series. For those of you who don't know who Mai Okazaki is, she's the girl that Terako associates with Xander and who she sees when she gets stabbed by Xander. It is heavily implied that Mai is the unnamed student in Xander and Min's bonus episodes, and in these episodes, she comforts them as they discuss their troubles. It's unclear if she is an ultimate herself, as in her bio she's the ultimate question mark, but what we do know is that she's connected to the ultimate students. Her bio on the Despair Time Tumblr is secret and says the quote, "There's a way for you to be happy." Along with this, her description changes every time you go on her page. All of the sentences you can get in Mai's bio are, a girl with many friends, she forgives everyone, a girl with a floral tattoo on her arm, she kept a secret and told no one, she kept calling the number even though no one picked it up, an average girl with nothing special at all about her, a girl who wanted to keep everyone safe, a girl who sees beauty in everyone. Some years ago, she was searching for someone named Terako Tawaki. Everyone confided in her. She couldn't stand to do nothing. She doesn't like when her friends fight. A girl who didn't foresee the consequences. A girl who loved her family. A girl who had a bright future. She remembers everything that is important to others. And lastly, it's all your fault. Mai Okazaki is shrouded in mystery, from her connection with Xander and Terako to her personality and how she relates to the rest of the cast in the killing game. First of all, I have a massive conspiracy theory about Mai and her connection with Terako. One of Mai's descriptions reads, a girl with a floral tattoo on her arm, specifically her left arm. If you look at Terako's original outfit, her left arm where Mai's tattoo is completely covered with bandages. While Terako says the bandage is for a bad injury, I highly suspect that Terako has the exact same tattoo as Mai. I also looked at all of the characters' left arms, and a majority of the characters' left arms are covered. The only exceptions are Who in her original design, Rose, R.A., Eden, Wit, David, and Nico, although they do have cat scratches on their left arm. Furthermore, there's also a lot of mysteries surrounding Mai's whereabouts. The sentence in her bio switched between past and present tense, so it's unclear whether she's alive or not, as well as the statements, a girl who had a bright future and a girl who wanted to keep everyone safe, implying that she couldn't keep everyone safe and passed away before the events of Despair Time. However, sentences like, she forgives everyone, and a girl who sees beauty in everyone, imply that she could still be out there looking for the students, or possibly watching them suffer. It's not unlikely for a fangame series to have a mystery student, like look at Danganronpa Another with Kizuraki, so perhaps Mai will be introduced as a contestant in the show in a later chapter. Or, of course, she could secretly be the mastermind wanting her peers to suffer. Lastly, why was Mai looking for Terako, and what is her fault? Is she possibly the person in the prologue saying they had to kill Terako? Perhaps. The last quote about Mai reads, "It's all your fault," which suspiciously sounds like the secret, the killing game is your fault in Chapter 2, which definitely makes me believe Mai has something to do with this killing game. However, there's still so little information known about Mai. She'll sit comfortably and hear me out. If you've seen my first Danganronpa Despair Time video, it will hopefully not be a surprise for you that I'm putting her in No by CLC. Hu Jing is one of my two suspects for the Chapter 2 killer, so her being the mastermind would be obsolete if she's the one who killed R.A. Unless Despair Time pulls a Danganronpa Rebirth, but I doubt that'll happen. After defending Nico and David and then being betrayed by David, I don't see Hu being the mastermind, and I read her emotions as genuine in the Chapter 2 trial. I could see her either being the Chapter 2 killer, her dying in Chapter 4, or her getting a character arc similar to Terako's, but a bit different since the person who betrayed her, David, would still be alive. Alas, I don't see Hu being the mastermind.
It's time!
Eden Tabisa is arguably the nicest and most conventionally likable among the cast of Danganronpa Despair Time. Her optimism and kindness, while annoying to Terako, is quite fresh to see in this cast of characters filled with negativity and selfishness a majority of the time. She is so different from the rest of the cast, very trusting, kind, and peppy, and because of that, yeah, I think she's evil. In a series where the central theme is trust and how the protagonist struggles to accept kindness and trust after patterns on patterns of betrayal and bad luck, it makes sense to be suspicious of a kind, naive, and innocent character like Eden. Eden being the mastermind would be the ultimate stamp of approval for Terako's confirmation bias that no one can be trusted. If this is true, Eden being the mastermind could have also been hinted at by David's reveal, as other than Eden, David was the one who was always optimistic and outspokenly wanted to put an end to the killing game. David secretly being a lying, fraudulent, sadistic manipulator gave Terako a taste of what the innocent and cheerful people like him in the killing game truly want, and that can carry over to Eden's true motives. More evidence includes that Despair Time's killing game has an underlying theme of technology being present with the tech CEO in Mint's story, him possibly being Duke Sperling from Rose and Xander's story, and Mono TV's entire existence. Eden's talent is one of two that specifically focus on using technology, as she is a clockmaker. Speaking of clocks, isn't it kind of suspicious that she's a clockmaker and the series is called Danganronpa Despair Time? Lastly, for the past two trials, Eden has been connected in one way or another to the case. In Chapter 1, she baked with Min, which led to Min finding Xander standing over Terako's body, and in Chapter 2, the killer impersonated Eden to lure RA to the playground, likely after hearing Eden's conversation with RA. All of this culminates into my theory that Eden could possibly be the mastermind of Danganronpa Despair Time.
Art, shakack, boom. Oh, shakack, art. Did somebody mention art?
From what I've seen from the Despair Time fanbase, Rose is actually one of the most predicted to be the mastermind. A lot of my speculations for characters have to do with the fact that it's alluded that some characters are smarter than they let on, like Wit, but Rose is already shown to be smarter than she appears at first. While Rose is quite absent-minded and often zones out or falls asleep in conversation, she has a photographic memory, which is why she's incredible at her talent, art forgery. A lot of people suspect that Rose's absent-mindedness is an act so the other students don't find her intelligence suspicious. However, they all know about her photographic memory because she told them in the first trial. I think more will be uncovered about Rose in future chapters, especially considering the fact that Nico used her paint thinner to try to kill Ace, but I don't think she's the mastermind. So she's going in meh. Veronica is such a fascinating character to be in a series like Danganronpa. As a horror fanatic, she borderline enjoys being in the life or death situation she is in, and her title as the ultimate horror fanatic has given her amassed knowledge of not only the horror genre, but fear, psychology, and how people behave in horrific situations like the one she's in. As I should probably mention, I'm making a full character analysis of her character that will most likely come out in October for Halloween. As she is a horror fanatic in a horror series, she's quite a suspicious character. In Chapter 2, Episode 7, Terako calls her out on how she is constantly trying to psychoanalyze everyone and how it makes everyone uncomfortable, in which Veronica says she can't stop because it's so much fun for her. She says she's the kind of person who gets bored very easily, which is why she is so obsessed with horror. The genre's aim for the audience to feel fear and expel negative emotions excites her. But then she says, but after a while, fiction is only fiction. In the back of your head, you always know that there are no consequences for anything that happens. The idea that I could screw up my life at any time, that I could make a fatal mistake that I can't undo, that's real fear. So it excites me. As Terako and Veronica continue chatting, it becomes clear that to Veronica, her need to be entertained stands above her morals. This is shown even more during the Chapter 2 trial, as she is infatuated with Arturo and how he threatened Eden's life, and how she was intrigued by David's true personality. Even with her lack of morality, however, she still has her limits, which shows in her reaction to Min's execution and the fact that she blames herself for Xander's death as she was nearby. She also utilizes her knowledge on fear and horror to bend the students, especially Ace, into submission. With all of this, it becomes clear that Veronica is Despair Time's take on both the reference girl trope of Danganronpa, which is seen in characters like Chiaki and Samuki, as well as the creepier, unhinged characters of Danganronpa. Think Celestia, Samuki, and most importantly, Junko. As Junko is the main mastermind of the Danganronpa series, this makes Veronica look even more suspicious. However, as I've mentioned earlier, Despair Time has been taking their own creative liberties with these formulaic tropes of Danganronpa, so with that in mind, I don't think Veronica is the mastermind. At most, I think she could be a traitor, but I think it would be too obvious for her to be the mastermind. Personally, I could see her dying in Chapter 3, specifically in some way connected to Arturo, whether that be her killing him or him killing her, but that all depends on whether Despair Time has a double murder case or not and what the Chapter 3 motive will be. But because of all the fascinating parts of her character, I'm putting Veronica in Hear Me Out.
Passion for fashion. Passion for fashion.
Levi! I love Levi so much. Levi is honestly one of the kindest characters in the series, and I love that he is a personal stylist. However, it is hinted that Levi has a much more nefarious side, as he threatens to strangle Ace in the first trial, and there's hints that he has a very troubled past. There are a couple of suspicious things about Levi that could point to him being behind the killing game, such as the fact that he has a fashion-related talent like masterminds of Danganronpa's past like Junko and Samugi. If we look at what Danganronpa trope Levi is based on, it's clear he is the intimidating buff gentle giant like Gonta, Sakura, Nekomaru, and Mondo, and if you're familiar with Danganronpa, the buff characters never survive. This is carried over into fangams like Danganronpa Another and its sequel with Kakeru and Shinji. While I would love for a buff character to survive, which I could definitely see happening in another fangam, Project Eden's Garden with either Ingrid or Jean, I don't see Levi surviving. But also, if you've seen my first Despair Time video, you know that I think Levi killed Are and thus would be executed in part 2 of Chapter 2. I'm putting him in a solid meh. Ew. Oh god. I haven't talked about this that much, but Arturo was my least favorite character of Danganronpa Despair Time. While he is quite a compelling character and I wanted to learn more about him, he is still an annoying, pretentious prick who doesn't respect boundaries and or people in general. Between his disdain for those who don't meet his impossible beauty standards and his overall aggressive and creepy behavior, it's obvious that Arturo is Despair Time's interpretation of the Chapter 3 killer archetype. The seemingly calm yet intelligent and suspicious character who is secretly unhinged and evil. Think Celestia, Mikon, and Korekio. Even some fangans have characters like this, such as Kinji from Danganronpa Another and Marcus from Rocky Restarts, who was supposed to be the Chapter 3 killer before the project was cancelled. Arturo's execution would also probably be very grotesque and ironic, like most of the Chapter 3 killer's executions having to do with his talent as a plastic surgeon. I could imagine it being like the Eye of the Beholder episode of The Twilight Zone, where he is seen as ugly by everyone around him after getting plastic surgery, and then he's killed by a bunch of needles or medical equipment. However, despite that idea being kinda cool, I think Arturo will subvert Danganronpa tropes by being one of the victims of Chapter 3. I could see him being killed by Veronica or Jay, and with that, I don't think Arturo is the mastermind. Like Veronica, his creepy demeanor makes him too obvious to be the mastermind. He's going in no by CLC. Alright, last spin. Jay! I love Jay so much. She is my favorite character in the whole series alongside Wit, mostly because she is a theatrical effects artist like me. I can also relate to her insecurities and distaste for obnoxious and arrogant people. I definitely think she's got more to show as a character, including finding out why she hates her mom, a famous actress, so much, and how she ended up being an effects artist. Jay is honestly one of the biggest wild cards in terms of predictions for me. I want Jay to get revenge on Arturo by killing him, but I don't want Jay to die so soon. I could see Jay dying at any point or possibly surviving after she talks about her life to the cast. However, there is minor evidence that could also point to Jay being the mastermind. In the prologue, Jay mentions how the place they're all staying in is brand new, almost like it's a movie set. She asks, who would build an entirely new building just for us? While this could just be her using her skills as an effects artist, since being an effects artist takes a lot of attention to detail, it still sounds a little suspicious. For now, Jay is going in meh. And lastly, we have David Chim. Isn't it kind of poetic that we're finishing off with the character I'm cosplaying? Oh, David Chim, the bitch in sheep's clothing, as TVTropes.com calls him. My first Danganronpa Despair Time video was entirely dedicated to his character and how his reveal impacts the story of Despair Time, so a lot of this will just be rehashing of that video. In the last episode of Despair Time, it was revealed that David is, as he says it, a lying, manipulative, scumbaggy piece of shit. It's clear from his reveal that David is Despair Time's take on an antagonistic rival figure in Danganronpa like Byakuya, Nagito, and Kokichi, and even fan-gen antagonists like Tsurungi and Shobai from Danganronpa Another and its sequel. He is the optimistic leader, the motivational speaker, the light and hope the group needs, but only when it benefits himself. Deep down, he is a hypocrite who wanted more murders to happen in the Killing Game, and he feels catharsis when he is evil. David literally has the complete package in terms of personality to be a mastermind. However, once again, it would be too obvious for David to be the mastermind after his whole reveal, unless Despair Time pulls a Super Danganronpa Another 2 like how Makoto Sonoji was revealed as the mastermind before the Killing Game even started. Fun fact, by the way, David and Makoto share the same voice actor. I really don't know what the writers are going to do with David's character at this point. Here are some of my ideas, and fair warning, they're all over the place. Someone could try to kill David in Chapter 3 thinking it'll benefit the group or stop the Killing Game, likely someone like Ace or Who. David could be killed by a prominent character like Charles in Chapter 5. David could kill Charles in Chapter 5. Or David could have the most elaborate negative character development to positive character development storyline and survive. Or he could be the traitor. I've been saying certain characters couldn't be the mastermind but could be a traitor, so let me clear up what exactly that means. Every Danganronpa game has a mastermind and one traitor, someone who is in on the Killing Game but not behind the entire scheme. The traitor doesn't necessarily have to be nefarious, they are just in on the Killing Game whether that's in or out of their control. For example, in V3, my all-time favorite Danganronpa character, Kibo, is the traitor as he is the eyes of the audience since he's a robot. However, Kibo himself is not an evil character, and in fact, he makes out-of-character and oftentimes more questionable decisions because the audience tells him to. David could be an interesting interpretation of a traitor since he's apathetic to the situation they're in after his reveal, saying, "Not that it matters anyway since none of us are going to escape this Killing Game alive." Despite his nihilistic attitude, he sounds suspiciously sure of himself that this Killing Game is unbeatable. For now, David is going in, hear me out, because I don't think he's the mastermind, but there's definitely some shady stuff going on with him. And those are all of my mastermind predictions and thoughts for Danganronpa Despair Time. If you liked this video, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the bell for notifications. Comment down below any ideas for Despair Time related videos, and let me know if you have any predictions for this series. See you all in the next video!